And again, we're back. Okay, so the last video, we did a handle fit up, did some handle shaping. This video, we're gonna finish this, this little chef knife up. So what we need to do is strap it down to the hand sanding board and start hand sanding this blade. Get the front of the bolster all hand sanded up so it's nice and pretty, up to a 600 grit. And then we're gonna strap it in the knife maker's vise, and we're gonna sand this handle down, get all the facets all straightened up and pretty and looking good. And then we're gonna buff it and etch it, and the thing is gonna be done. So I actually can't wait to see what this is gonna look like all finished. So before I get this strapped up to the hand sanding board, I almost forgot. I need to get in here with some 400 grit belt and clean this up a little bit in the choil area, and also chamfer the edges so it's not sharp or uncomfortable for the user. Had to change the belt. Been trying those game changer belts, and I don't know whose game they're changing, but I can't stand those things. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the most important things you do to the blade, just because it really makes a difference. I mean, if someone's using this thing and you have those hard corners, yeah, it's not going to be comfortable for long. I've also got to clean up the spine a little bit and do the same thing to this. Make some chamfers on it just to make it a little more comfortable in case, you know, somebody wants to press on the spine. All right, onto the hand sanding board now. This time for real. Okay, I'm gonna try not to bore you with the hand sanding, but on my board I've got a little cutout right here, and this is actually for when I have integral bolsters, or if I'm hand sanding a knife that I've already finished and I need a refinish or something like that. I'm going to clamp this down with just one of these clamps so I don't break anything. Be a little more delicate when I can. All right. So my grit progression, I'm going to start with a 220. And I'm going to use a backer, a G10 backed hand sanding stick. And some simple green. It's a good lubricant. But I use the hard back sanding stick first with the 220, just so I can find any rounded areas on the blade. And this hard corner also makes it so I can get up into here a little bit better. And I'm pushing up so I can get the front of this bolster while I'm in the process of getting this blade done. So, as you can see, this is the fun part that everybody looks forward to. I'm really not sure if I believe anybody who says they enjoy hand sanding, but who am I to judge? It could just be me. I might have to adjust my board a little bit, make this cut a little bit farther forward, because this blade's pretty short, so we'll see what happens. So the hardest grit to get through is the 220, because you have a lot of deep scratches to get through. All right, we're getting there. As soon as I get all these angled scratch marks off of here, then I'll pull this off and check the bolster. I might actually hold this in my hand and do that bolster. I need another light that shines from this direction. Anyway, I'm going to keep doing this. As soon as I make it through this 220 grit, I'll come back. Okay, the 220 is done. So I'm going to 400 and a rubber back. And 400 and 600 are easy to get through. So it won't take too long. Scrub the front of that bolster. And then get the rest of the blade. And then I'm going to get the 600 while I've got it on this side, and then I'll put a piece of rag underneath, so if this moves on the wood, it doesn't mess up the finish. All right, and back the other side here, onto the 400 for this side. And there we go. Blade is hand sanded. I'm gonna clean this guy up just a little bit and then put some tape on it and strap it into the knife maker's vise so that I can get the handle sanded and the bolster. And then after that we can buff it, etch it, and do all the finishing touches. All right, into the knife vise we go. Lock it down. Give this a little bit more tilt here. Okay, and so for the first pass with the 220, I'm going to use the hard back because I want to keep this transition between the hard steel and the softer wood from having any dips or bumps. So I'm going to use the hard back so that I can keep this flat. And it's easier to keep this straight when you've got your blade straight up and down and you're working at a 90-degree angle from the straight of the blade. If it's tilted and then you have to try to tilt and keep that straight, it becomes a little more difficult. So that's one of the good things about the knife vices, is that you can adjust these. You can turn them so that whatever you're working on is straight, like parallel with the horizon. And then I'm going to work the top and bottom, then the sides. And then when I get into this rounded stuff, I'm just going to use my soft back. And this right here, I'm actually going to use my rounded file so that I can go in at an angle like this. It's hard doing these rounded areas with a flat. Okay, now we're going to go to the sides. Okay, now to get in these little dished areas, I'm going to take my soft back and just work in these areas here. Feels good. I'll get this other side, and then after I do this other side, I'm going to check to make sure the two sides are somewhat symmetrical. It'll probably never be perfect, but I can get it as close as I can. All right, all the big scratches are out, so let me turn this. Got to round this a little bit more. Not sure if you guys can see this very well, but hopefully you can. You can kind of see what's going on here. Okay, that's actually pretty good right there. Okay, so now I need to start working on these facets. So what I'm going to do is get this even with the horizon line, and then with my hard back sanding block, just start going at it. And I want to try to keep these as straight as I can and keep the lines as straight as I can. So for instance, right now, this line goes past this line. So when I do this facet, I'm going to try to take a little bit more off there just to get everything lined up. I got some pretty good scratch marks in this piece of bolster, so I got to get those out before I move on. And that should do it. So get this nice and straight. And then gotta work on this facet. There we go. Now I got those lines where they need to be. Okay, so that's basically it. I mean, I've got 3 more sides to do, and then I'll move on to the 400. But I'm just going to work on this. When I get to the 400, I'll show you how I go about that. On to the 400. So the only difference is with the 400, I'm going to use the soft, the rubber backing, and it won't take much. So I'm just going to go through all these facets, and then the top and the bottom and the sides, and then I'll move on to 600, and from there it's just going to be using my hand, because at that grit I'm going to wash out the corners enough to make them comfortable, but they're not going to go anywhere. Okay, so there's the 400. Now I'm going to do 600 and then probably 1,000, and that's all just holding it in my hand and working it like that. Once I'm done with that, we'll go over to the buffer and buff this thing out, and then we'll etch it. Okie dokie. I went up to 1,200 on the handle. Get this tape off of here. So what I'm going to do is go over the steel with the black, and then I'm going to go over the handle with the green, a little less abrasive. And then after that I'll clean it up and we'll etch. Well, I have to put a resist on the handle so the ferric doesn't screw up the wood, but after that then we'll etch it. Looking good. Let's run a light black on the handle. Geez, actually almost forgot. I have not put my mark on this thing yet. So I will go do that. So I just need to put a resist on the handle so I don't get the ferric chloride on the handle, because that usually will kind of screw it up. It'll darken wood. Ammonia will too. Like if you're cleaning your stuff with Windex and you get the Windex on your handle material, it will actually darken it. So sometimes it's actually pretty cool. I've done that with, I can't remember what it was. It was some natural wood, and it darkened it, and then I sanded it or sandblasted it, and it left the dark on there and made it light in some places. Anyway, it was pretty cool. It was a long time ago, and I honestly can't remember exactly what kind of wood it was, but it was pretty cool. Okay, on to the etch. So when I etch my blades, what I do is I put it in the ferric for like 10-15 minutes, and then I'll take it out, clean off the oxides and everything that's left from the ferric, and then I'll run it on the buffer. And the buffer basically it'll take the edges off of the etch, so it's not, I mean, they're not sharp, but it'll just smooth them out a little bit. So it gives it kind of a cool look. So I think it's gonna be etch time. So we'll poke this in here up to about where I did the resist, and then we'll just let this dangle in here for about 10 minutes. All right, let's get this thing out of here and give it a buff. Boy, that side is not very twisty, but still looks pretty good. Mountain Dew and Sun Chips. Two of my favorites. So I'm gonna scrub this down with the steel wool. Get all the oxides off of here. Looks like there might have been some oils or something on here. Didn't etch quite as well right there. But we'll fix that in the next etch. Just one more spray. And run it over to the buffer. So I'm just going to use the black compound on here. Part's gonna be a little hard to do here because I don't want to get it up here where the resist is and rub the resist off. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna do that part. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm gonna clean this again one more time with the steel wool. I'm just cleaning this one more time with the steel wool to get all the polishing compound off. And then I'm going to go back into the etch. I'm going to do this same process 2 or 3 more times until I get the depth that I want in the etch. All right, so 2 to 3 more times, like I said, and after that will be the coffee etch. So I'm not gonna make you watch me do this 2 or 3 more times. So as soon as we're done, I'll show you. We'll do the coffee etch and then I'll show you again. And it's pretty much done after that. The etching is done. And I don't know how well you can see that, but turned out pretty good. It's got a nice chatoyance in it. I'm not sure if you can see that in the camera. But anyway, it's time to coffee etch. So if you don't know the coffee etch, this stuff right here is the best. It's, well, there could be better, but this works well for me. It's the Nescafe dark roast. I've tried like the Walmart brand dark roast and it just does not work as well as this. And then I'm trying distilled water for the first time. Normally I use tap water and it works okay, but it seems like the coffee contaminates and then ends up like darkening, like somewhat darkening your 15N20, which of course you don't want. So the ratio is, if you get a big jar like this, I think this is a 64 ounce, and you put this whole thing in there and fill this with water, that's the right ratio. But if not, you do 1 ounce per weight of the coffee for every 9 ounces by volume of the water. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in this container. because that seems pretty close to the right height. And then I boiled this water. It's definitely not boiling anymore, but it is warm. And hopefully I have the right amount, but I'm just gonna pour this into here. And if not, I'll just pour some of the cold water in there and it'll be fine. So when it's hot, check it often because it etches a lot quicker when it's hot. There, perfect. When it's cold, it'll take, I mean, you could leave it in there all day and sometimes it won't etch as dark as you want it. But when it's hot, I mean, like 10 minutes maybe, could check and it might be done. But I cleaned this off. I cleaned the blade off before I put it in here with just dish soap, so to get all the oils and stuff off. So we'll leave it in here for a few minutes, like 10-15 minutes. I'll come back and check it, see where we're at. So that took a little bit of time. This came back 15 minutes later. It wasn't really etching. So I cleaned it up again with soap, dish soap, and all of a sudden it etched within about 15 minutes. So there must have been something keeping it from etching. I guess I didn't clean it very well. But anyway, I just gotta clean this off and get the acetone off, and this thing's done. Sorry, I meant I have to clean the fingernail polish off with acetone. Don't know why I would be cleaning acetone off of this thing, but my mind is odd sometimes. Most of the time, probably. Just depends on the day. Looks like I got all the fingernail polish off. I'm going to do a quick run on the buffer. And then minus like the wax and sharpening and all that stuff, this thing is complete. So here it is, the finished product. Figured I'd do a little close-up. But anyway, you can see all the little details. So this side worked out a little better with the directions of the twist, with the directions of the curl. I mean, obviously they go opposite, but this side, not so much. This was a little more random on this side. Not exactly sure why, but still looks pretty good, I think. And this handle, it's a little bit different shape for me. But anyway, there's the finished product. All I need to do is put some wax on this. I'll wax up the blade, bolster the handle, and then I need to sharpen it. And then I'll do another coat of wax and it will be complete. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys sticking around for this this build, and we will see you in the next series. Thanks for watching.